a long-dormant mystery surrounding a poisoning murder case has once again captured the public's attention in China, this time due to the recent passing of the surviving victim, who became disabled for life. On the 23rd of December 2023, Tsinghua University announced that Zhu Ling, a 1992 graduate, passed away on the 22nd of December in Beijing. The subsequent article in the Chinese magazine Newman Sheng Weekly stated, "Zhu Ling is gone. There was no medical miracle, and there was no breakthrough in solving the case. Zhu Ling did not stand up again, and the culprit remains a mystery." Some say the Zhu Ling case is both the most complicated and the simplest. Others describe it as a case with a difficulty rating of 0.5 stars for solving and 100.5 stars for capturing the perpetrator. Today, let's delve into this unsolved mystery that has persisted for 30 years.
他就说他疼，你别人就看不出来他是怎么了。
结果里头上万倍了呀，那个量大得不得了。
Zhu Ling, born on the 24th of November 1973 into an intellectual family in Beijing, faced a tragic turn of events. Her father, Wu Changji, a retired senior engineer from the China National Seismological Bureau, and her mother, Zhu Mingxin, a retired senior engineer from the China Ocean Shipping Company, had another daughter named Wu Jin. Zhu Ling and her sister have different surnames, one taking the mother's surname and the other taking the father's surname. Both were outstanding. Zhu Ling's sister, Wu Jin, excelled academically and artistically, being a member of Peking University's dance team. Unfortunately, in April 1989, during a spring outing, Wu Jin went missing and was later found dead at the bottom of a cliff, officially ruled as an accidental fall. Devastated by her sister's death, Zhu Ling went through a period of depression. Despite excelling academically, she chose to attend Tsinghua University instead of Peking University. In September 1992, Zhu Ling enrolled in the Department of Chemistry at Tsinghua. As the only daughter, she actively engaged in extracurricular activities, including playing in the Tsinghua Student Orchestra's traditional music ensemble. Because Zhu Ling started practicing Chinese harp at the age of 12, she quickly learned to play the zhongruan and became a backbone member of the folk music band. Not only that, Zhu Ling was also an excellent swimmer, played the piano, and was proficient in English and German. A male classmate once commented on Zhu Ling, "Her beauty is both external and internal. I have never seen such a perfect and outstanding person." However, one day, strange changes began to occur in Zhu Ling's body. In October 1994, Zhu Ling experienced temporary blindness in her eyes twice and several days of blurry vision. Starting from the 24th of November, she began to feel discomfort in her stomach, abdominal pain, loss of appetite, and her hair started falling out. However, on the 11th of December, she still endured the physical discomfort and participated in a significant performance by the Tsinghua Student Orchestra, playing a 10-minute classic solo on the Chinese harp. In front of the camera, she showed no signs of distress, making it hard to imagine the strength she mustered to endure those 10 minutes on stage. Just a few days after the performance, Zhu Ling's once abundant hair had completely fallen out. From the 23rd of December onwards, for the next month, Zhu Ling stayed in the gastroenterology department at Beijing Tongren Hospital for treatment. However, at that time, doctors were unable to determine the cause of Zhu Ling's illness, only categorizing it vaguely as a strange illness. Fortunately, it seemed that the condition was quickly brought under control. With the school reopening approaching on the 23rd of January, despite her mother's objections, Zhu Ling firmly insisted on being discharged. On the 20th of February, Zhu Ling returned to school, and then the strange illness suddenly recurred. Over the course of about 8 days, from the 20th of February to the 3rd of March, Zhu Ling spent most of her time on the Tsinghua campus, except for 2 weekends when she went home. On the 27th of February, she experienced severe pain in her legs. On the 6th of March, the pain intensified, accompanied by dizziness, prompting Zhu Ling's parents to take her to Peking University Hospital for treatment. At that time, She went to the orthopedic emergency department, where the doctor prescribed some painkillers, but her condition showed no signs of improvement. On the 9th of March, Zhu Ling was transferred to Beijing's premier hospital, Beijing Union Medical College Hospital, as the hospital thereafter, for treatment. On the 20th of March, she fell into a coma. On the 23rd of March, Zhu Ling experienced central respiratory failure, and the hospital performed a tracheotomy for emergency rescue. On the same day, Zhu Ling was diagnosed with acute disseminated encephalomyelitis, with multiple organ failures. Due to the lack of effective treatment methods, the doctors decided to perform a complete blood exchange for Zhu Ling, conducting a total of 8 procedures with each blood exchange exceeding 1,000 cc. While this stabilized her condition, it unfortunately led to Zhu Ling contracting hepatitis C. On the 28th of March, Zhu Ling developed pneumothorax again and was transferred to the intensive care unit, relying on a ventilator for survival. Zhu Ling remained in a coma for 5 months until she finally regained consciousness on the 31st of August. During this period, her high school classmate, Beiji Chang, learned about her condition. Beiji Chang sat in front of Zhu in high school and described her as lively and intelligent. Due to early development and tall stature, Zhu was like an older sister to him. Later, Beiji Chang was admitted to Peking University. Although Tsinghua and Peking University are close, Beiji Chang mentioned that he hadn't seen Zhu since they graduated. After 3 years, when Beiji Chang saw this old classmate again in the ward at the hospital, he was shocked by the sight before him. Zhu was covered in tubes and bald. He described feeling an intense fear upon seeing Zhu for the first time, unable to believe that this was someone of the same age. He suddenly experienced a strong urge to escape, but his legs felt as if they were filled with lead and couldn't move. After calming down, he wanted to help this former classmate uncover the cause of the illness. This finally allowed a glimmer of hope to penetrate the mysterious and perplexing nature of Zhu Ling's strange ailment. Beiji Chang suddenly thought of his classmate Kai, who was working on an internet connectivity project. Perhaps he could use the internet to seek help worldwide and find the cause of Zhu Ling's illness. It's worth noting that in 1995, the internet had just entered China, and only a few research and educational institutions in Beijing, such as the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Peking University, and Tsinghua University, could access the World Wide Web. There were just over 400 computers nationwide with internet access, and most Chinese people were still unfamiliar with the internet. Even Beiji Chang himself had only vaguely heard about it from classmates and hadn't fully understood what the term internet meant. Beiji Chang organized Zhu Ling's medical records, wrote a plea for help, translated it into English, and then contacted Kai to post it on foreign medical forums. After posting the message, Kai stayed overnight in the stuffy computer room and received a surprising number of responses within 3 hours. Everyone was excited, experiencing the power of the internet for the first time. In the following days, they even developed a program to categorize these emails using keywords. At that time, they were amazed to find that many responses mentioned the word thallium. According to an interview article in New Minsheng Weekly, Beiji Chang and his team received a total of 1635 email replies, with 211 suggesting thallium poisoning, accounting for 79.92% of the total emails, providing diagnostic opinions. Beiji Chang mentioned in an interview that they received over 3,000 emails. Another report from Southern People Weekly stated that doctors from around the world sent more than 1,500 replies, with 30% suspecting thallium poisoning. The exact statistics regarding the number of emails cannot be accurately verified. However, it is undeniable that this internet plea for help provided a new direction for diagnosing Zhu Ling's condition. Initially, Beiji Chang was not familiar with what thallium was. It was only after consulting materials that they discovered thallium is a chemical element with the symbol Tl and atomic number 81, occurring in very low concentrations in the natural environment. Thallium compounds are mostly tasteless and highly toxic, having been used as rodenticides and insecticides. They can also be misused as poison. Beiji Chang was astonished and quickly contacted many classmates from Peking University and Tsinghua University. They worked together to translate these emails and handed them to Zhu-Ling's parents. They urged them to promptly contact the attending physician to conduct a thallium poisoning test for Zhu-Ling. At the outset, the hospital attached great importance to the case and held an analysis meeting. However, during the meeting, a chemistry professor from Tsinghua University presented a list of chemicals that students had contact with, affirming that Zhu-Ling had no history of thallium exposure. He also stated that the management of chemical reagents at Tsinghua was strict, requiring 2 individuals with keys to the toxic reagent cabinet to open it together. The hospital believed that since there was no source of exposure, the possibility of thallium poisoning could be mostly ruled out. Additionally, crucially, at that time, the hospital did not have the equipment to detect thallium poisoning. However, despite the information presented during the meeting, Beiji Chang, looking at the various letters from foreign experts he received, persisted in urging Zhu-Ling's parents to have her tested.
阿姨，你怎么了呢？就是这么多人都说是拍者，都是他中毒，你为什么就不化验？哎呦，我就觉得真是我也特别着急。
Zhu-Ling's mother was persuaded by Beiji Chang, but since the hospital did not have the testing conditions, where could she go for the test? After inquiring extensively, Zhu-Ling's mother learned that Professor Chen Zhenyang of the Beijing Institute of Occupational Disease Prevention and Control was conducting research on thallium and could assist with the testing. According to Beiji Chang, at that time, Zhu-Ling's hospital refused to provide any samples for Zhu-Ling's family to test. In the end, with the help of a young doctor at the hospital, Zhu-Ling's blood, urine, and hair samples was submitted for testing. And the test results were shocking to everyone. The thallium content in Zhu-Ling's body was tens of thousands of times higher than the normal thallium content in the human body, and the pointer of the testing instrument jumped to the maximum with a snap.
在那个结果里头，上万倍了呀，那个量大得不得了了，我们从来没见过，见到我都吓一跳。
For thallium poisoning, the treatment is not complicated, and the simplest method is to take the antidote Prussian blue. On the night of the confirmed diagnosis, Zhu-Ling's father spent just over 40 yuan to buy 10 bottles of Prussian blue. 10 days later, the thallium level in Zhu-Ling's serum was undetectable and was recommended stopping the medication. However, due to the prolonged exposure and high dosage, the damage caused by thallium poisoning to Zhu-Ling's body was irreversible. Ironically, as early as March 9th, when Zhu-Ling went to the neurology specialist outpatient clinic, Chief Physician Li Shunwei had told Zhu-Ling's parents that Zhu-Ling's symptoms were very similar to a case of thallium poisoning at Tsinghua University in the 1960s. He mentioned that the symptoms of thallium poisoning are obvious, such as hair loss, Mies lines, and pain in the hands and feet. Dr. Li even contacted Professor Zhang Shulin from the Institute of Labor Health of the Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences that day to diagnose Zhu-Ling. The diagnosis given by Professor Zhang was acute thallium or arsenic poisoning, but regretfully, the institute did not have the testing conditions either. Coupled with the denial from Tsinghua University, this led to a delay of 52 days before Zhu-Ling was finally confirmed to have thallium poisoning. In 1996, Zhu-Ling's parents sued the hospital on the grounds of medical malpractice, seeking compensation of 800,000 Chinese yuan. However, the court ultimately ruled that the hospital was not at fault, and the case did not constitute a medical accident. Nonetheless, the court ordered compensation of 100,000 Chinese yuan for Zhu-Ling's medical expenses and other losses. In 1997, Zhu-Ling underwent rehabilitation treatment in the hospital. Upon first contact, the rehabilitation doctor's impression of her was that her vision was limited to light perception, nearing the point of blindness. Thallium poisoning severely damaged her nervous system, resulting in significant impairments in motor and language functions. Additionally, she exhibited mild symptoms of brain atrophy. It can be said that Zhu-Ling's entire life was completely devastated by the thallium poisoning. In May 1997, a second thallium poisoning case occurred on the campus of Peking University. However, due to prompt rescue efforts, both victims fully recovered. Zhu-Ling's case, though almost took her life away, popularized a medical knowledge and raised awareness across Chinese universities about the management of chemically toxic substances. So, how did Zhu Ling come into contact with this highly toxic substance? Professor Chen, after analyzing the test results, believes that Zhu Ling was clearly poisoned twice, as there are at least 2 peaks of toxins in her body. The occurrence of 2 poisonings rules out the possibility of accidental ingestion or self-harm. Professor Chen stated that no one would choose thallium for self-harm because thallium poisoning is chronic, extremely painful, and distressing.
它中的这个是慢性的，疼痛这个症状是人人都受不了，它疼的没办法想这个疼。
So, the only remaining cause for Zhu Ling's poisoning is being poisoned by someone else. On the 7th of May, 1995, the Beijing Municipal Public Security Bureau formally initiated an investigation. So, who could be so malicious as to use such a brutal method to harm Zhu Ling's life? A retired senior police officer from the Beijing Public Security Bureau, Wang Bu, specifically approached Zhu Ling's parents and reminded them that the perpetrator should meet the following conditions. 1. Have access to Zhu Ling's daily life, able to poison her without being noticed. 2. Be familiar with Zhu Ling's routines and habits, knowing the timing and occasions for poisoning. 3. Have knowledge of the toxicity and toxicology of thallium salts, and be able to access thallium salts. 4. Have a motive for the crime or exhibit abnormal behavior. Thallium is not common. According to information released by the Public Security Bureau at that time in Beijing, there were only about 20 units with about 200 individuals that needed to use thallium or thallium salts in their work. The number of people who could have contact with both thallium and Zhu Ling was extremely limited. At the end of 1995, the police informed Zhu Ling's family that a suspect had been identified and they were ready to confront each other. The only criminal suspect listed by the police was none other than Zhu Ling's roommate, Sun Wei. According to publicly available information, let's examine the specific suspicions against Sun Wei. Firstly, as a roommate, Sun Wei had the ability to access Zhu Ling's daily life and was familiar with her living habits. Zhu Ling lived in room 114 of Building 6 on campus, sharing the upper and lower bunks with Sun, both of whom were from Beijing. When Zhu Ling's mother visited her several times out of concern, she found the dormitory to be messy, with water cups casually placed on the table, indicating the feasibility of poisoning in the dormitory. Secondly, Sun Wei had access to thallium and knowledge of its toxicity. According to revelations from classmates, in the spring of 1994, during an analytical chemistry class, students in physical chemistry learned about the toxicity of thallium. The lecturer at the time mentioned a thallium poisoning incident that occurred in the 1960s at Tsinghua. A student inhaled a small amount of thallium oxide while cleaning an unused fume hood, and he passed away that night. In September 1994, Sun Wei joined an internship program where the research project they were working on included thallium salts. Thirdly, an abnormal event had occurred in Zhu Ling's on-campus dormitory. On the 28th of April 1995, when Zhu Ling's parents learned that their daughter was poisoned with thallium, they immediately approached the deputy head of the chemistry department, who was also in charge of student affairs at the university. They requested the immediate relocation of all roommates from the Zhu Ling's dormitory to protect the scene, seal Zhu Ling's belongings on campus, and further analyze them. However, the deputy head claimed that relocating classmates was somewhat difficult. Subsequently, during the Labor Day holiday, Zhu Ling's dormitory was broken in. According to Zhu Ling's father, the police investigated the scene. There was money scattered on the ground in the dormitory, and nothing was missing, except Zhu Ling's personal belongings, including contact lens cases, lipstick, shampoo, shower gel, and a water cup. He also recalled that in late March 1995, shortly after Zhu Ling was hospitalized, a female classmate from her dormitory called him and said, "We ate Zhu Ling's bread she left behind." He suspected that someone was destroying evidence. Regarding the last point, motive, the most prevalent speculation online, is the jealousy theory. It suggests that Sun Wei harbored jealousy towards Zhu Ling, believing that Zhu Ling outshone her in various aspects, leading her to intentionally plot harm. Both were members of the Tsinghua Folk Orchestra, and competition for performance opportunities could have generated friction between them. With so many doubts, was Sun Wei convicted? We now know that Sun Wei was not. The police claimed a lack of substantial physical evidence. The dormitory theft in 1995 resulted in the loss of all of Zhu Ling's personal toiletries and other potentially relevant evidence, making it impossible to convict the suspect. In the summer and autumn of 1995, Zhu Ling's father recalled that the police had approached his workplace, inquiring whether he had any conflicts with Sun's father during the Cultural Revolution. This was the first time Zhu Ling's father learned that the case might be related to Sun Wei. Following this incident, the Zhu family proposed communication with the Sun family, but their request was declined. In March 1997, the Zhu family wrote a letter to the director of the Beijing Public Security Bureau, stating that many of Zhu Ling's classmates were about to graduate and go abroad for further studies. They emphasized the urgent need for a swift resolution to the case. Additionally, they submitted a petition to national leaders. On the 2nd of April, Sun Wei was taken in for questioning by the Public Security Bureau as the sole suspect in the Zhu Ling case. The interrogation lasted for 8 hours before she was released. This marked the only instance when Sun Wei was called in for questioning. On the 30th of June 1997, during the graduation ceremony, the chemistry department informed Sun Wei that the school had received a notice from the Public Security Bureau requesting a delay in issuing her graduation and degree certificates. However, the Public Security Bureau denied issuing such a notice, stating that law enforcement was only responsible for solving the case, and academic affairs were the school's own responsibility. In early July, the Sun Wei family went to the Public Security Bureau to collect Sun Wei's passport, but the authorities did not provide it. However, by the end of the same year, Sun Wei finally received her graduation certificate and obtained the passport because everything was based on suspicions, lacking concrete evidence. In August 1998, Sun Wei was cleared of suspicion, bringing the police investigation to a close. However, the case did not fade away after this. In 2002, Zhu Ling's high school classmate, Beiji Chang, published an article online titled "Some Information About the Zhu Ling Case," publicly revealing the name Sun Wei for the first time. He mentioned that the perpetrator of the Zhu Ling case cannot be completely confirmed, but we must condemn political interference in it. Beiji Chang also stated that Sun Wei and Zhu Ling were both members of the Tsinghua Folk Orchestra, but due to Zhu Ling's high skill level, it was highly unlikely that Sun Wei would have performance opportunities. Considering that Zhu Ling's first poisoning occurred before the orchestra's large-scale performance on the 11th of December, this situation becomes intriguing. However, this article did not create much stir at the time. It was not until 2005 when a post titled, "Heaven Envies Beauty, the Poisoning Incident of a Tsinghua Female Student 10 Years Ago," appeared on a popular online forum that Sun became the focus of public discussion. The post revealed Sun Wei's family background with deep political connections. Later, a report by Sina News also pointed out that Sun Wei's father was the Central Committee member of the Revolutionary Committee of the Chinese Kuomintang, and Grandpa Sun held positions such as honorary chairman of the China's Revolutionary Committee of the Chinese Kuomintang, a national committee member of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, CPPCC, and a former advisor to the Ministry of Coal Industry. Sun Wei's uncle served as vice chairman of the Beijing Municipal Committee of the CPPCC, vice mayor of Beijing, and vice chairman of the National Committee of the CPPCC. Grandpa Sun had extraordinary relations with the then top Chinese leader Jiang Zemin. On Grandpa Sun's 100th birthday, Jiang Zemin even sent a color photograph of himself having a friendly conversation with Grandpa Sun as a commemorative gift. The post also mentioned rumors that before Grandpa Sun passed away, Jiang Zemin had visited him, and his only request was to release his granddaughter. Due to the post spreading widely, Sun Wei, as the center of the heated public discussion, couldn't sit still. On the 30th of December 2005, Sun Wei published a statement, refuting the rumors triggered by the article, "The Envy of Heaven Toward a Beauty." Sun Wei's post was lengthy, but mainly addressed the following points. 1. She was innocently implicated in the Zhu Ling case and is now also a victim. She even received threatening letters from Zhu Ling's uncle. 2. She is by no means the only student at school who could come into contact with thallium. The school's claim that the laboratory is very strictly managed is a complete lie. They use thallium solution for experiments, prepared by the teacher and placed on the table. Sometimes the laboratory is not even locked, and it is open to students from other departments. To prove that the school did not strictly manage toxic reagents, Sunway had her brother take out a large bottle of toxic reagents marked with a skull from the laboratory, recording the entire process. 3. The relationship among her dormitory roommates has been very good, and they have not argued or had any issues in the 5 years. They remain good friends to this day. 4. Regarding the motive for the crime, Beiji Chang claimed it was for competing for performance opportunities, but this is purely groundless. Sunway explained that Zhu Ling mainly played the Chinese harp and performed solo, while she played the zhongruan, serving as an accompaniment instrument. Moreover, in her junior year, she voluntarily withdrew from the folk music band due to academic pressure, and she had no plans and did not participate in the large-scale performance on the 11th of December, 1994. Indeed, there is controversy online regarding Sunway's motive for the crime. Some classmates from the Tsinghua Folk Music Orchestra mentioned that Zhu Ling was a key member of the band, and the disparity in their status within the band was too significant for any competitive relationship to exist between her and Sun. 5. Sunway mentioned in the statement that her grandfather passed away on the 9th of December, 1995. The first and only time she was questioned was on the 2nd of April, 1997, by which time her grandfather had already passed away. Therefore, it was impossible for him to seek intervention from high-level authorities at that time. 6. Last but not least, Sunway also accused the police of conducting a biased investigation and even installing eavesdropping devices in her home. However, the so-called eavesdropping device was later confirmed to be a misunderstanding. Sunway mistook a pair of music-themed teacups in her home for teacups containing wiretapping devices. Later, in a second statement, Sunway clarified the issue of the bugging device, admitting her mistake and apologizing to the police. Sunway's statement seems to be well-reasoned, but it did not help clear her of suspicion in the eyes of netizens. Some pointed out that the timing of Sunway's interrogation does not contradict the time of her grandfather's death. Her grandfather passed away on the 9th of December, 1995, and the police investigation began in the second half of 1995. This further proves that when Grandpa Sun was alive, the police did not dare to interrogate her. Additionally, in her statement, Sunway mentioned, "In March 1997, the family of Zhu Ling wrote to the director of the Beijing Public Security Bureau, pointing out that students were about to graduate and leave school. The case urgently needed to be solved, and the perpetrator could not be let go. Shortly afterward, they also wrote to national leaders." This supposedly led to her sudden interrogation on the 2nd of April 1997. Zhu Ling's father questioned Sunway's statements. "We have never told anyone about the specific time of submitting petitions. How did Sunway find out? This makes me feel that her background is extraordinary." The day after Sunway issued her statement on the 31st of December 2005, Beiji Chang, using the ID Huamulan borrowed from a friend, posted a thread online titled "Bei's Statement on the Zhu Ling Incident" to counter Sunway's rebuttal. Several points were mentioned. 1. The intervention of the Sun's family in the case was not baseless. Both Zhu Ling's parents and Beiji Chang received information through different channels within the Public Security Department. Zhu Ling's parents had petitioned earlier in the year, 2005, hoping to reopen the case. However, the off-the-record response from the Public Security Department indicated that there had been instructions from higher-ups that made a reopening impossible. 2. The relationships among the classmates, where Zhu Ling was enrolled, were not as harmonious as Sunway described. In 1995, when Beiji Chang brought numerous emails from foreign doctors to the dormitory of Zhu Ling, requesting collective translation assistance, some female classmates surprisingly responded with, "We've already planned trips for our Labor Day holiday and don't have time to help you." a male classmate from Zhu Ling's class mentioned in an email to Beiji Chang that despite winning collective honors during their university years, there were various conflicts among male students and female students. However, these conflicts were concealed beneath the illusory halo of honor. 3. Many years ago, when Beiji Chang visited Zhu Ling, she muttered unclearly, "I still consider Sun a good friend. No wonder she often brings me coffee during breaks." In the following 2 weeks, Sun Wei and Beiji Chang continued to release several posts online, showing no signs of stopping this wave of verbal battles. It wasn't until the 19th of January 2006 that the popular online forum abruptly issued a notice. To facilitate the smooth resolution of the incident, discussions on the topic of the Zhu Ling thallium poisoning case were temporarily suspended. Time came to 2008. In that year, the regulations of the People's Republic of China on open government information officially took effect. Zhu Ling's family submitted an application to the Beijing Municipal Public Security Bureau requesting the disclosure of relevant files regarding the investigation process of Zhu Ling's case, but it was met with rejection. Even after reconsideration was approved, the reception staff at the Public Security Bureau continued to procrastinate, stating that they needed to consult with leadership before providing a response. Now, more than a decade has passed, and there has been no progress in the matter of disclosing the case files. In April 2013, a poisoning case occurred at another renowned university in Shanghai. The defendant, Lin Hao, mentioned during the trial that the long unsolved case of Zhu Ling at Tsinghua University inspired him, giving rise to a sense of impunity, which led to the commission of the crime. This statement immediately brought back the attention to the Zhu Ling case. On the 18th of April, Sun posted on the same online forum with the title, "After so many years, like many others, waiting for the day when the truth comes to light." However, netizens countered her, saying, "Anyone facing such widespread condemnation would fight back, especially with such a deep political connection. Why do you choose to remain silent, only speaking on the internet, never seeking legal means to clear your name?" Amidst intense online discussions, more rumors surfaced, and the voices demanding the public disclosure of case files grew louder. On the 6th of May 2013, the state-owned media outlet, Xinhua News Agency, published an article titled "Public Opinion Calls for Timely Clarification of Zhu Ling Case Rumors," raising 7 questions. 1. What evidence did the police have at the time? 2. Where did the case stall? 3. Is the police's statement that they have reached critical point in investigation true? 4. What or who were they referring to? 5. Why did the police evade questions from Zhu Ling's family and refuse information disclosure? 6. The reason given by the Beijing Public Security Bureau for not opening the case file is that it falls under other situations not disclosed under laws, regulations, and related provisions. What does this cryptic statement specifically refer to? Lastly, Xinhua News Agency asked a crucial question, 7. Did the case face improper interference from authorities at that time? 2 days later, on the 8th of May, the official Weibo social account of Beijing Police, Safe Beijing, responded to the Zhu Ling case, stating that the case had not been interfered with. However, circling back, besides Sun Wei, is there any possibility of another perpetrator in the Zhu Ling case? On the 26th of September 2013, a netizen posted a strange letter on Weibo. It was a letter received by Zhu Ling's parents, written from Los Angeles, USA, and sent from Las Vegas, USA, signed by Dong Dong with an unknown identity. This letter sparked the collective poisoning hypothesis in the Zhu Ling case. The sender claimed in the letter that Zhu Ling brought her troubles upon herself today. She created noise in the dormitory, disturbed others' rest, used hurtful language, and discriminated against people who are not a Beijing local. Roommates were on the verge of collapse and couldn't endure it any longer, wanting to expel her from the dormitory. So, they collectively drugged her to make her sick and repeat a year. Later, Zhu Ling became disabled, purely due to an accidental overdose. The sender also mentioned that the people involved in handling the case, including the Tsinghua University management and CPPCC vice chairman, advocated downplaying the matter and were unwilling to investigate further. Zhu Ling is already in such a devastating state, and they don't want to ruin the futures of the other 3 girls in her dormitory. This letter was later handed over to the police for processing, but there were no further developments. The authenticity of the content and the identity of the sender remained unverified. However, netizens recalled a series of suspicious events that occurred at the end of 2005 and the beginning of 2006 after Sun Wei's several statements. Sun Wei's first statement was sent out on the 30th of December 2005 at 22:18. Subsequently, several classmates from Tsinghua quickly posted in support of Sun Wei. Among them, a user with the ID Warm Sun, Taiyang Zhengnuan, posted a 2761 words long response. The incredible aspect is that the posting time for Warm Sun was the 30th of December 2005 at 22:22:28 seconds, and within 4.5 minutes, 2761 Chinese words were typed, averaging 10 characters per second. This was not even counting the time spent reading Sun Wei's original post. I just want to say that if this article was not pre-planned and coordinated, then the poster should definitely apply for the Guinness World Record. This user with the ID Warm Sun was later revealed to be Zhu Ling's roommate Jin Mo. Sun Wei was the only suspect interrogated by the police in this case. Why would Jin be willing to collude with Sun and defend her? There are several possibilities. First, Jin trusted Sun Wei's integrity and believed she could not be the real culprit. Second, Jin also suspected Sun Wei as the real culprit, but under pressure from Sun's social status and political connections, had to agree to Sun's request. Third, Jin and Sun were accomplices. Defending Sun meant protecting herself. It's up to individual opinions to decide which possibility is more likely. On the 29th of January 2006, someone claiming to be Sun Wei's classmate anonymously published an article titled, "The Truth About Defending Sun Wei," revealing that Sun Wei's statements online were a carefully planned collective action. The person mentioned that, "My conscience has been tormented for a month. Today, I decided to tell the truth. While we classmates did indeed have a good relationship with Sun Wei, as events unfolded, I became more and more suspicious of her." The poster revealed Sun Wei's guidelines sent to them before, explicitly stating to register multiple IDs, use different IPs, avoid writing things they can't remember or contradict each other, emphasized that Sun's family is not as influential as everyone imagines. She leads a simple life, and she couldn't possibly commit such an act, etc. It can be said that Sun Wei was training an online militant to defend her. Shortly after, Sun Wei's emails were hacked and exposed some of her previous communications with classmates. At that time, Sun Wei should have already gone abroad, so the emails were a mix of Chinese and English. In one email, Sun asked classmates to help her find and translate papers to see if they could find a case of someone being poisoned twice, as she thought this could clear her suspicion in the eyes of netizens. Because compared to poisoning twice, it would broaden the scope of people who could have poisoned Zhu Ling's daily necessities. However, things didn't go as planned. The desired paper could not be found by the Support Sun group, but ironically, a 2018 article in the journal Forensic Science International seemed to suggest that the real culprit was likely from Zhu Ling's dormitory. After more than 20 years of Zhu Ling's poisoning, her family sent some of her hair strands, a total of 9, collected from the family's blanket between late 1994 and 1995, to Richard David Ashe, a researcher at the University of Maryland in the United States. Richard used laser ablation inductively coupled plasma mass spectrometry, LAICP-MS, to analyze the hair. What kind of technology is not necessary to delve into. We only need to know that hair, like tree rings, can record information about different periods of our lives. In 2018, Richard published the analysis results in the Forensic Science International Journal. Zhu Ling first fell ill in October 1994, and by mid to late December, all her hair had fallen out. Later, during the winter vacation, Zhu Ling was hospitalized and new hair grew again. In February 1995, she fell ill again, and in March, her hair fell out once more. One strand, labeled as 9, hair 9 ZL1995H9, measuring 7 centimeters and fallen in late December, revealed that Zhu Ling had been frequently exposed to thallium poisoning from mid-August to mid-December 1994. During these 4 months, the thallium content in Zhu Ling's hair showed more than 20 peaks, with a significant dose of poisoning in mid-October, coinciding with Zhu Ling's first illness in October 1994. Another strand, labeled as 5, hair 5 ZL1995H5, measuring 0.7 centimeters and grown in February 1995, falling in March, indicated that Zhu Ling was also exposed to thallium poisoning multiple times in February and March 1995, with a much higher dose than in 1994. These 2 strands of hair silently revealed a fact. Someone had been poisoning Zhu Ling repeatedly over an extended period, observing her symptoms and adjusting the dosage accordingly. Additionally, it's worth mentioning that, besides detecting thallium, lead was also found in Zhu Ling's hair. However, some have questioned the accuracy of the conclusions in this paper, raising concerns about how Zhu Ling's hair samples, having fallen off for 2 or 3 decades, were preserved after sampling, and whether there could have been contamination during the storage period, questions that Richard did not address in the paper. In addition to the sun as the real culprit theory and the collective poisoning hypothesis, some also suspect Beiji Chang, who has been advocating for Zhu Ling's case for a long time. Beiji Chang played a crucial role in the Zhu Ling case. If he hadn't thought of contacting foreign experts through the internet and constantly urged Zhu Ling's parents to undergo thallium poisoning tests, Zhu Ling might have passed away without any clear understanding of the cause of her illness. Beiji Chang definitely deserves credit for saving Zhu Ling's life in this matter. However, over the years, some of Bei's statements regarding the Zhu Ling case have raised questions. First, there might be some exaggeration in the number of emails received from foreign doctors. Beiji Chang claimed to have received over 3,000 emails, but this number has varied in different media reports, ranging from 1,635 to over 1,500 emails. It is unclear whether Beiji Chang changed his statement or if the media interviewed other students who helped organize the emails. In the latter half of 1995, there were rumors at Tsinghua University suggesting that Zhu Ling was poisoned because her father smuggled thallium and she accidentally got contaminated. Beiji Chang later pointed out in a statement that the source of the rumor was eventually traced back to Sun Wei. However, Beiji Chang did not provide details on how this source was identified or what evidence supported this claim. Additionally, in an article titled, "Reality is Not a Fairy Tale," Beiji Chang mentioned that he initially wrote a distress letter in Chinese and then had an American friend translate it into authentic English. The original text of this English distress letter reveals noticeable grammatical and spelling errors, and the expression is in Chinese-style English. It seems unlikely to be the work of a native English speaker. Beiji Chang may have lied about the translation of the distress letter. There are many such loopholes in Beiji Chang's statements, indicating a lack of rigor in his expressions. Apart from these, some netizens revealed that Bei's family background is even more prominent than Sun's. Bei's mother is the renowned translator. She worked in the Foreign Affairs departments of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, the National Science and Technology Commission, the State Economic Commission, and provided translation services for Chinese national leaders like Fang Yi, Chinese Communist revolutionary, diplomat, and high-ranking politician, Zhu Rongji, 5th Premier of the People's Republic of China, and Li Peng, 4th Premier of the People's Republic of China. Bei's maternal grandfather was a founding general of the People's Republic of China, serving as the Minister of the Guard Department in the East China Military Region, the political commissar of the anti-aircraft artillery of the Nanjing Military Region, and the Deputy Director of the Political Department of the Nanjing Military Region. In contrast, Zhu Ling's family also had considerable connections. Zhu Ling's grandfather graduated from one of the 4 prominent universities in North China during the Republic of China era. He held positions such as the Deputy Director of the Beijing Commercial Bureau and the advisor to the Higher People's Court of Beijing. In 1997, Grandpa Zhu approached his old schoolmate Huang Hua, who was the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Vice Premier of the State Council, and vice chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress. Grandpa Zhu presented detailed information about his granddaughter Zhu Ling's poisoning. This was the previously mentioned detail of Zhu Ling's parents petitioning national leaders. In the nearly 30 years that Zhu Ling's father remembers taking care of his daughter, everything happened around the hospital as the focal point. When talking about something, he always starts with, "When we were in edX Hospital." For Zhu Ling's parents, these 30 years seemed stagnant, life remained unchanged, and they never got the legal truth they waited for. Zhu Ling's health fluctuated repeatedly. Just as she showed signs of improvement, new infections would set her back. In 2011, Zhu Ling underwent a tracheotomy due to pneumonia, and her vocal cords never closed again. She lost her ability to speak and needed a ventilator to sustain her life. She suffered from multiple lung infections, later developed diabetes, lung tumors, and in mid-2023, a brain tumor was discovered. Zhu Ling's parents are both educated traditional intellectuals, embodying virtues like gentleness and frugality. The impact they endured with one daughter dead and the other disabled is unimaginable. However, despite their suffering, they remain reserved and restrained in any situation, never blaming fate or others. The author of Zhu Ling's 45 Years, Li Jiajia, describes Zhu Ling's parents as two science and engineering intellectuals who carefully conceal their grief and pain, dignifiedly protecting and supporting their daughter to lead a dignified life. As for seeking justice for their daughter, Zhu's father has grown indifferent, saying, "The matter has come to an end, and this is the result. What else can we do?" He adds, "We have let go of the incident. There's no need to investigate. We know what happened."
你想的这个已经非常好了，比不明不白好多了吗？清清楚楚。
On the 18th of November 2023, Zhu Ling suffered a brain tumor attack with increased intracranial pressure, dilated pupils, and a high fever of 39 degrees, falling into a severe coma. The family stated they were prepared, but still hoped she could hold on until the 24th of November to celebrate her 50th birthday. On the 22nd of December, just a month after her 50th birthday, Zhu Ling concluded her strong yet painful life. On the other hand, Sun Wei changed her name in 2006 and has been living abroad for these years, initially in the United States and later in Australia. In May 2013, nearly 150,000 Chinese Americans petitioned the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement to deport Sun Wei. Recently, a similar scenario unfolded in Australia. Many years have passed since the Zhu Ling case, and although it remains unsolved legally, the truth may have already emerged in the judgment of each individual.